Morning, everyone. Welcome to the March 8th, 2022 meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court. We are glad you're with us this morning. We will begin, as we always do, with an invocation, and we have with us Reverend Kenny Kidd from Highland Baptist Church. Reverend, would you lead us in prayer?
Let us pray. Dear God, we bow before you this day at the start of this proceeding. And we thank you for the blessings that you bestow upon us so freely and for the goodness that we experience at your hand. We're grateful for the freedoms that we possess, and we pray for those in our world that are struggling for freedom today, seeking your grace and strength and help and protection for them. We thank you for every public servant involved in governing our community, and we lift to you these servants and leaders in this place today. Give our leaders grace to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly before you in all integrity. Impart your wisdom to all of these leaders and servants that they may pursue the good of us all here in this, our community. God, we pray that you direct the steps and decisions that are taken in ways that are pleasing and good and right to you, knowing that their decisions have an impact on our lives. Watch over and care for those who protect, serve, and care for us each day. Give us the help that we need to continue to be a strong, healthy, safe, and caring community that meets the needs of our citizens and enables Henderson County to blossom into an even more beautiful and wonderful place. We're thankful, God, for the gifts that you have and continue to extend to us all, and we seek your blessing on this day. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend. Appreciate that very much. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Magistrate McCollum? Here. Magistrate Berry?
Here.
Magistrate Southern?
Here.
Magistrate Moran?
Here.
Magistrate Putman?
Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have before you the minutes of the February 22nd Fiscal Court meeting and the February 24th special called meeting where we reviewed personnel policy matters. And if you wouldn't mind, I'd entertain a motion to approve both those sets of minutes after review.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other clarifications, additions, corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We have with us our Judges Scholar for this meeting, Miss Mary Ellen Whitfield, and we're glad to see her and her family and representatives of school at Spotsville, and I'll ask Mary Ellen to meet me up right here in front of my nameplate. We're going to read the special proclamation here.
Okay. Whereas Mary Ellen Whitfield has been chosen by Spotsville Elementary School to be the recipient of the Judges Scholar Award for exceptional efforts in both academics and school activities. And whereas Mary Ellen's hard work and dedication in making the most of educational experiences and developing positive relationships with teachers and other students will lead to future success. And whereas success is measured in many different ways, whether it be passing a test, scoring the winning point, achieving a particular goal, or taking the necessary steps for overall improvement. And whereas the Henderson County school system could not let Mary Ellen's efforts go unnoticed. And whereas the Henderson County Fiscal Court supports the school system and acknowledges these accomplishments as being significant because students, such as Mary Ellen Whitfield, will be our future leaders. And now, therefore, I, Brad Schneider, County Judge Executive of Henderson, join with the Henderson County Court to proclaim March 8, 2022 as Mary Ellen Whitfield Day.
Whole family.
Isn't she so tiny? She's just that cute as a button. Yeah.
Congratulations, Mary Ellen, and congrats to family and school personnel with us today. I'm sure you're proud. We are too. And now the fun starts. Government starts. We're going to begin this portion of the meeting with a resolution voicing our opposition to House Bill 214, which is in the Senate right now in Frankfurt, and would, as it's written at the moment, eliminate a district court judgeship in Henderson County. And for many reasons, we think that is detrimental to the future of Henderson County and its citizens, and we thought we would formally voice, along with the city, our objection by passing or considering, for your estimation, a joint resolution formally voicing our objection. I hope you had a chance to read it. I know that both the mayor and I, Don Kelsey and Steve Gold, have conferred on this and helped make sure the language that we want to express was correct. And at that, I'll entertain any questions or comments. Mr. Gold, anything you'd like to say?
Well, I was going. Tickets, misdemeanor crimes are in there, but also probate cases when somebody has a loved one pass away or something like that. And over the years, they've added a whole lot of extra things into the district courts. Juvenile criminal cases, mental health cases where people are in mental health crisis, and that's something, that particular docket over the last several years has really grown. They've added something called Casey's Law, which is where you can get involuntary treatment for loved ones that have substance abuse addiction issues. Those are, there's a limited number of those, but they're growing. The law's been on the books for about 15 years or so, and we just got our first ones within the last 3 or 4 years. And the more people are finding out about that, the more they're using it, because they know that if they can get that treatment in place before somebody is charged with a serious crime or something like that, or goes too far down that road of addiction, that they can save a life. Those are very time-consuming cases. And what the state did is they kind of looked at case numbers to create this, to kind of shift around some of these judges. And what they didn't look at is what the effect is on real people and on the people of Henderson. And, when you're dealing with somebody that's in mental health crisis, or somebody that is takes to get before one judge, that's going to make that a lot harder for that sort of help to get in place. Another issue we've got is that court handles guardianships. So, for example, demographically, with the aging of America, we're having a larger number of people that aren't able to manage their personal affairs or their financial affairs, and that's where a guardian comes in. And you've got to go to court to be to seek to be appointed a guardian. And when your loved one is being either physically or financially exploited, that's another time where hours and days count. So the loss of this district judge would be something that would be felt by the people of Henderson pretty strongly. And if you look at population, if they take one of our 2 district judge positions away from us, as far as population per judge, we would be one of the higher around. And that's something that is a concern. The Bar Association has had a concern for the people that they serve and see this as an issue. And just as somebody that spends a whole lot of his time in that district court, I see this as an issue in a lot of different ways.
If I could add to that, having been the district judge and knowing how much volume is, availability for the mental health issues, which I would say I got maybe 2 a week at least. Usually they're at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever, somebody's threatening to kill themselves, whatever. You've got to have somebody available for that. Search warrants for the police department, I think the sheriff could verify that. And those are the things that I've tried to make sure that we had that availability. Now, I have sort of preached about this because I saw it coming for about 10 years now. Sometimes we do things and don't realize what the results are going to be. We think we're doing the right thing, but then it turns out to be bad. We have allowed the state, and I'm going to use a word that I don't really like, but defund the state police department and let their case numbers go down. I think it was like they had 8 troopers out there. And before that, when Ed Brady was out there, I think they had like 17 or 18 or something like that. And so what we did, our sheriff's department said, okay, you don't have enough people, we'll cover Henderson County and you all can do Webster and the other county. We should have demanded that they get funded from the legislature and done it, because what they did is they counted the number of traffic cases, the number of cases, and police, and whenever you don't have that policing around, those numbers fell. We used to have 12,000 traffic court cases a year. Now we've got about 3, I believe. So those numbers. And Henderson was sort of unique in that we took time to try to collect the fines and court costs, gave people time to pay them, and we set up basically a special court. Herbie set up a program to let people make their payments and then sign an order where they didn't have to take off work. And we collected more money per capita than any other county in the state of Kentucky. The legislature doesn't count any of that time that we do that, which is a moneymaker for the state, but our legislators don't seem to care about money unless they're giving it away and it's other people's money. We really need at least 2 judges, or we need to merge with another county or do something. I don't know, but this is something that's been coming for a long time. I talked to Leslie Newman, and she said that she brought up the issue about the fines and court cost, and AOC said, well, none of the money goes to us, so we really don't care about it. I think they owe a fiduciary responsibility to the Traumatic Brain Injury Trust Fund and the Spinal Cord Injury Trust Fund and the funds that help build the jails and everything else that comes out of those fines and court costs. But and money goes to the jail, and our money from the jail for court costs is dropped in less than half. I mean, so it all has a ramifications on everything, and we're focusing, the legislature, they need to focus on our debt, our retirement, get the funds instead of just giving away money and taking away stuff from us to help fund a family court judge, and that's the purpose. They want to put family courts, which is a noble purpose, but you all raise your funds, raise your revenue, and fund it instead of taking something away from us. And that's my feeling, because we need it, and you got to have the availability of a judge 24/7. It's got to happen. We had one more thing. We had the murder double suicide, which happened here, and it changed law in Kentucky, where you have to be 24/7 be able to get a what's the term I'm thinking of, Steve? EPO, DVO, and that's really important. You've got to be there, and it needs to be done quickly. You can't be out searching for somebody, and that's the way it used to be years ago. I mean, I think, I don't know if there's any members of the police department remember what it was like to try to find a judge to get a search warrant, but it was not an easy thing.
Leaving that burden on one person is
Oh, it's going to
problematic.
be, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. It would be just overwhelming.
The resolution also contemplates the impact the opening of the I-69 bridge will have in our community and the number of traffic violations that portends, and, you know, with hopefully growth because of industries coming here, more of the, you know, misdemeanor and small issues that end up in district court. That's not going to shrink. It's only going to
But
grow.
the state also built the way station over here, and they defunded
Yeah.
the department that ran it. We were making money for the state when that thing was going, and you were keeping the roads safer when you had, I mean, overweight truckers, people that have equipment that's not good on those trucks. I mean, those things are missiles going down the road, and they're, you know, 120,000 pounds or whatever, 180,000 pounds supposed to be, but they just quit operating it pretty much, and it's willy-nilly. Maybe they open, maybe they're not, but those case numbers caused a decline in our stuff too. And so it's all caused by the state legislature defunding the state police, defunding the way station, and cutting our cases, which they cut. And now they're going to punish us and take the judge away. Just doesn't make sense to me.
The frustration is real. The problem is real. Any other comments before we read the resolution? Mr. Clerk, if you don't mind.
A joint resolution opposing passage of House Bill 214, amended KRS 23A.020, to eliminate Henderson District Court, Division 2 of 51st Judicial District, and its negative impact on the citizens of the City of Henderson and Henderson County, and the long-term negative economic impact. Whereas dense traffic already passing through Henderson County via I-69 and U.S. Highway 41 is expected to significantly increase with the completion of the new I-69 segment through Henderson County and the Ohio River Crossing Bridge into Indiana. And whereas increased traffic enforcement will put additional strain on caseloads of both Henderson District Court divisions, and the burden would be compounded should it all fall to a single division to manage. Whereas our community is on the verge of expanding as new economic development partner Pratt Industries will bring at least 320 new jobs to Henderson, along with new residents and their domestic problems, and other industrial prospects have been inspired to consider locating in our vibrant community. And whereas the General Assembly is considering House Bill 214, which would eliminate one division of district court in the 51st Judicial District, and is simultaneously considering other bills, including Senate Bill 31, which would put more deadlines and burdens on the district court. And whereas there is a steadily increase in docket of cases law cases as the public becomes educated to the process, along with the growing district court dockets for guardianship and probate cases as the aging of the generation has stretched the workload for district court. And whereas Justice Palmer's words about district court still ring true today, it is our most important court for the simple reason more people come before it, more people see it and hear about it, and more people know what it is. From the very beginning, I have believed the performance of this court, these judges, would be the key to the public's judgment of the whole system as a whole. Eliminating a division of District Court, Henderson District Court, 51st District, will harm a meaningful access to justice, as this would severely reduce efficiency and timeliness in a court that so many citizens rely on access to justice. And whereas the City of Henderson and Henderson County Fiscal Court oppose the passage of House Bill 214, in that it will delay justice for the citizens of the City and County of Henderson and will cause a serious and long-term detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of our citizens and our businesses. Now therefore be it resolved by the City of Henderson, Kentucky, and the Henderson County Fiscal Court that the City of Henderson and Henderson County Fiscal Court oppose the passage of House Bill 214, amending KRS 23A.020, to eliminate Henderson District Court Division 2, 51st Judicial District, and its negative impact on the citizens of the City of Henderson, Henderson County, and the long-term negative economic impact.
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Let me ask, if they was to do this silly thing, I might add, would that take place in 4 years?
Yes.
So,
Interestingly-
and we're in an election cycle right now, so.
Yeah.
Actually, the way it's written is it would go into effect in 2027, when the end of the term would be. However, if at any point between now and that time period, something happened with one of our judges, they retire, decide to step down for some reason, pass away, God forbid, anything like that, if there ever is a vacancy, it automatically disappears.
Goes away.
So
we
it
could
could
lose it
happen.
next year. I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate Magistrate McCullum's remarks, and you too, Steve. Well said. I think you made it pretty clear how important it actually is, so.
Well, people that need tenant access to, you got problems with somebody that you need to go through and have them removed or do that kind of stuff. I don't know.
I just can't imagine who
You
would
can-
even take on that position again, who would want to be a judge.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
either.
Small claims court,
Yeah.
landlord-tenant type
Yeah,
things.
it-
It
it's-
really is the catch-all court for the court system, and it is where the rubber meets the road. And you're right. I've talked to a whole lot of people that if you had spoken to them a year or two ago, they saw themselves as wanting to run for judge someday. They're all like, heck no, not district court. Not if it's only one. It'll be one miserable individual.
It will be. And unfortunately, Henderson has the distinction of being the highest county in the state of Kentucky with pregnant women being on drugs. 58% of all women in Henderson County giving birth. And that leads to lots of bad problems, lack of families, lack of participation, and those children's chances, they end up in district court, in juvenile court and other things, which is, I don't know what the solution to that is. I hope the Boys and Girls Club is a big thing for that, but I just don't know what else to do.
Well, the thing about it, this thing just kind of slides through, and usually the public's not even, they're not paying attention to what's going on in Frankfurt. So need to contact your legislators, I guess. And thank you, Judge.
Well, and just so you know, we've been communicating this to our legislators for a couple months now. And they were under the impression that it faced a lot of headwinds and probably wasn't going to advance, and they were wrong. It passed the House pretty quickly.
They tried to do this 6-7 years ago, and they tried to do it as a whole bunch. And by trying to cut out a bunch and reorganize these family courts with cutting the district courts and everything, there were a lot of counties that brought up. So what they've done is they've cut us apart. They've divided us, done individual counties, and then they cut you. And, what do the other legislators care about what happens to Henderson County? And so that's the way they've gotten this accomplished. They tried to do it in a big swoop maybe 6, 8, 10 years ago, and they've cut us apart. And I don't know where you're going to get help from other legislators because they don't care about Henderson County. It's not my problem.
And interestingly, both the chairman of the House Judiciary and the Senate Judiciary and members of House and Senate leadership, their districts are gaining judges. Okay.
So, yeah.
Funny how that works.
Yeah. No, it's not funny.
Yeah. And
sad. That's what it's sad.
It is sad.
Yeah.
after the quick passage and surprising passage in the House, it's now in the Senate. Initially, we all thought, based on feedback from our senator and others, that it wouldn't have much play in the Senate. Now, it looks like it certainly will. So that's why we're ramping up our kind of effort to voice our dissatisfaction. There is a chance that some of us might be heading to Frankfurt in the next day or two to try to meet with Chief Justice Minton, who is a champion for this bill, and other members of the Judiciary Committee, and try to help them understand how this impacts us. Not only us. Hopkins County is going to lose a district judge in this plan. There are other counties that will lose district judges. Unfortunately, there are more counties that will gain judgeships of various types than will lose, if I'm not mistaken, which means their fans and the fans outnumber the opponents at this point.
They divided and conquered.
It ends up being a net zero in the number of judges because the legislature, even though there's no cap on the number of judges, and there are places where there legitimately need to be judges added, where there's been growth, things like that, there's nothing that keeps them from just adding a judgeship there. But the legislature's view of it is that, well, if we add one here, we've got to take one away from somewhere else.
For budgetary concerns?
Exactly. Now, the interesting thing is what they're adding is family court judges, and family court judges are circuit judges, so they get paid more. they have a administrative staff, a social worker, and a staff attorney on staff. So when you're adding that, you're adding all of those salaries and fringe benefits. When you take a district judge away from somewhere, you're only losing that judge's salary and fringe benefits. So it's still, even though it's net number of judges in the state zero, by switching from district to circuit, there's a much higher impact on the budget by doing that. So it's a little
Well,
smoke and mirrors when they're doing it.
They will lose another secretary. Down in Hopkins County, each judge has his own personal secretary. Here, we shared a secretary, which was probably unusual, but Gross Lindsay, who is very cheap, I guess is a good word. Frugal. He was very frugal, and it worked, and it did, and we worked together, and it was fine. But some places, the wife serves as the secretary, which I think is probably not a good idea. But anyway, enough of that.
What's our case backlog? I mean, I know you just don't go to court every week. It's not, you have to wait.
Well, it depends on what type of case you're talking about. Obviously, when there is something that is emergency filed, that has to take precedence. Those Casey's Law cases, the emergency guardianships and mental health issues, all of those get very quick hearings. As far as trials, both in the district and circuit courts, generally Henderson's courts have always run relatively quickly. However, coming out of COVID, we're starting to have judges setting trials into December and January of this year. And that's, that there are just so many, and they've got them stacked up 4 and 5 trials a week, because really Fridays are the only day they can have trials because they're in other court sessions throughout all of those, and that's with 2 of them. So they're stacking them up so deep because some will settle or something like that, that they're pushed out months and months ahead. So you take that down to one person who has to do all of the bench time that each of the 2 judges are currently doing. Frankly, I sat down with it and tried to graph it out. I'm not sure when they have trials. I'm not sure when they have suppression hearings. I think one judge, if they were sitting on a bench 8 to 5 all day, every day, could get the actual sitting on the bench done. But as Magistrate McCollum said, there's so much more to it than that. You've got to write opinions. They don't have staff attorneys to write opinions for them. You've got to have hearings. You've got to have trials. I do think it's going to be a real access to justice issue for people in Henderson. And that's, like I say, it's things like small claims, landlord-tenant stuff, things that, real people are in there dealing with. The traffic ticket. A traffic ticket, you should be in and out. It shouldn't take forever. So it's going to have a real impact, and I think it'll create a much more significant backlog than there currently is.
Well, I think it's causing us the problem, and it's just a circuit court pretty much. We've got a lot of people in jail that haven't had their trials yet. And this group, this fiscal court, is paying for those people in jail because they can't get their felony cases heard and move it on over to the state time. So people are going to serve their time, we're paying for it, and the state's not paying for it. And I'm not sure that that's not a little bit of a intentionally done by the state because they're trying to save money.
Yeah, there is legislation to fix that little wrinkle. But anyway, it sounds like we have consensus on our desire to pass this resolution. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We will keep you posted on the results of our advocacy efforts here in the next couple days. In your packet is annual CDBG materials that WARM presents through our use as kind of a funnel to CDBG funding and grad. So if you've had a chance to review that, again, it's their annual request and also supporting materials for that request. There was a bit of a delay this year on the behalf of CDBG staff for various reasons, but unless there's any questions on that, I'll entertain a motion to support their application.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have 3 bid openings.
You may want to add on there that County Attorney Steve Gold has reviewed all the
yeah.
documents for
Reviewed. reviewed and approved as to form and legality.
And part of that motion was to authorize Brad to sign
Yeah.
all the documents, I'm assuming.
So unless we need another vote, I think that is clear. So we have three bids. First for Bituminous Concrete Materials. This is the one we rebid, correct, Bill? We didn't know at the time that a war would break out, so there's a chance that these bids are higher than they were the first time around.
Bill, you're gonna have to put an edge on that blade, I believe.
Some of them are sealed better than others. Some of them are really sealed. All right, looks like we have gotten 3 bids for Bituminous Concrete. The first bid I'm going to open up is from Rogers Group. Okay, I'm just going to read the applied to the roadway ones because that's the only way we actually do ours. So, Bituminous Concrete Surface, $85.25. Bituminous Concrete Binder, $83. Bituminous Concrete Base, $78.50. And a 1 foot wide, 4-inch thick DGA shoulder at $41.50 a foot, or a ton, excuse me.
Bill, if you can you recall off the top of your head whether this is the same bid they made last time?
Do what now?
Are these numbers the same bid that Rogers made last time? Can you recall?
I don't know that. Since we tossed them,
Yeah.
I didn't
Okay.
check it.
Thank you.
Bill, I
Next.
don't mean to be ignorant, but I guess I am. What is the DGA, the shoulder? What's
Dense
that?
grade aggregate for a shoulder, a
Rock.
safety shoulder on the edge.
But what is it made of? What's the difference in that and the other
What is
materials?
what, Charlie?
What is the difference in the materials?
This is rock.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
We put a rock shoulder on some of the roads for safety.
If
So
you
when
have-
the asphalt gets built up too much.
If you have
So-
right of way to do it.
Okay. All right, next one is from J.H. Rudolph, and hot mix surface is $90 a ton. Binder is $82.50. Base is $71.50, and for the 1 foot wide, 4-inch thick DGA shoulder is $42. And the last bid is from E&B Paving. And there was no copies with this one, so I'll make one for everybody as soon as it's over. And the same thing with the E&B bid. I'm going to read it to y'all. Okay. $98.50 for surface, $92 for binder, $79 for base, and $45 per ton on the 1 foot wide, 4-inch thick shoulder. Any question?
You going to take them and review them and come back?
Yes, sir.
You gonna do that today, or are we gonna come back in 2 weeks?
We'll bring them back in 2 weeks.
Okay.
We're not, most of, I don't think any of them will be up and running by that.
I'm not worried about that.
Next is for the bridge structure on BF Overfield.
This is from the E&H Bridge Company.
You need it? Okay.
Okay, this is for a steel bridge for BF Overfield. It was spec 38 foot in length, 24 foot wide, zero skew. That's the HS 25 loading with the weathering type steel. It includes guardrail. Total cost is $82,471.
I believe that's $82,741.
Yeah,
Okay,
82,741.
right. And that was the only bid? Oh, all these bids? Okay. It's the only bid. So this is the removal and installation bids?
This is the bridge. That was just the bridge structure itself. And we've got, looks like 3 bids for the demolition and the installation of the bridge. First bid is from AA Services. Total cost for labor and materials, $76,000 even. The next bid is from M&G Services.
That's all right. Mary Ellen, you remember me mentioning how some of this is really exciting? This is what I was referring to. It's important. It just can be kind of not real exciting.
And the labor and materials, $89,000. And the third bid is from Hazex Construction. And Hazex bid with labor and materials is $69,973. Like the court for me to take these under advisement. review them, and come back with my recommendations on our next fiscal court meeting.
That'd be great. Thank you. Bill, you're going to remain at the podium and talk about some hiring.
Yes. We had one of our CDL drivers leave our employment of the county due to economic reasons. He really didn't want to leave, but his financial situation has changed, and he needed a little more money. We regretted to see him leave. He gave us a 2 weeks' notice. He was a very good employee, and we need to replace him. And so we interviewed several people, and we would like to make the recommendation to fiscal court that we hire a Marcus McGuire. He's a licensed CDL driver. We felt that he was the best fit for Henderson County, for the road department, and in accordance to our hiring procedures. I'm bringing that in front of fiscal court today.
Do you have a salary for him?
Do what?
Do you have a salary for him set?
A salary?
Yeah.
No, he's just starts off at regular truck driver pay, which is, I believe, $17.50 for a 90-day period. If during his probationary period he is sufficient, then he'll bump up to the full $18.50 an hour.
Okay.
So that's basically our policy.
Any questions of Bill? Get a motion to approve that hire?
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And next.
Okay. We're going to discuss the other things, Mayor.
Well, yeah, please.
Okay. Now?
Yeah.
Okay. As you all know, I am going to be retiring in a few months. And as you all know, that we have unanimously have considered my replacement being a professional engineer that resides here in Henderson County. This gentleman has a substantial resume, which you have all seen before, has both worked in governmental and private sector. And we have come to the agreement of the terms for which my replacement will be. Basically, he will be coming in next year's budget at starting off at $95,000 a year, which is lower than mine. Of course, he doesn't have as much experience, so therefore we don't bring people in up here to fill the spot. The second thing is, in terms of his employment, he will have an educational bonus, which I have, and he is required to have 40 hours of training per year, which there's no problem getting that in, considering he has to have so many to keep his PE license. He has to have stormwater certification and numerous other types of training to keep his credentials. So he will be provided with a county pickup truck, as I am, and furnished his fuel, as I am, for work-related expenses only. He will require a 3-week vacation period, which he currently has with his employment right now, and will move into the county's standards of that would be for his first 5 years, after which he will go into the program where you gain a day for every up 6 through 10 under our normal personnel policy. He is also requesting that, unlike me where my phone is paid, he wants a phone allowance. He does not want to change his phone number and all that stuff.
Which is pretty common for
Yeah.
county employees that use their phone a lot.
Other than that, I appreciate everybody's support in the choosing of this person. I think this person will do our county a very good job and carry on in the mannerism of upgrading and replacing our roads and bridges and taking care of the county's needs. He is very well versed in that with his abilities that he has had in Kentucky Department of Transportation.
And of course, we're talking about Nick Stallings, who many of you know. And Nick has worked in Henderson County with the KYTC for many years, lives here, very familiar with Bill, has a good relationship with the county, has always helped us when we needed it, a good liaison between us and KYTC. I think his professional resume is outstanding. It's probably exactly the kind of experience we'd need. It's hard to replace Bill Hubiak, but Nick, I think, is an outstanding candidate. And to have him available at this point in time is I think, a stroke of good fortune.
He is homegrown. He's not a Yankee, so you guys got a plus. One thing is, we do want to bring him on board in this fiscal year to shadow me for 3 months. So starting in April, we will not have to adjust the budget. There's enough money in our people that we have not filled positions at the road department because we're waiting on equipment and that, so we can move some money over for the line items to cover Nick's salary for those 3 months while he's here without having to amend the budget, which I know Brenda will very much appreciate. And I think that is ample time for him to pick up on the things that he's going to need to take care of in the future.
You've heard the offer Bill's extended. Nick had very few requests other than the vacation time he's earned. KYTC having a similar level of vacation time to start with. And
So how do we do that? That's outside of our administrative guidelines. So how do we do that?
I think we can take a vote of the
This
fiscal
is a
court and amend
professional
that.
service, so.
Well,
Yeah.
but we have an administrative code about
Yeah.
earning of
Which is
vacation
2
time.
weeks after a year, and we're
Yeah.
going to start with 3 weeks before he's been here a year. So it's just different than our administrative code.
I think we can take a vote to make an exception, but we do not have to decide this exactly. We can do this at the next meeting, maybe have a little research on that, see what our options are.
I mean, I'm for him. We were lucky to have him. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to be anti. I'm just trying to make sure we're following all the rules and what
Exactly.
we're doing. I'm not
Understand.
trying to cause any problems, but he is great. I think he will have easier to get along with personality-wise.
I hope so.
It's a very
Why don't we,
low bar.
why don't we make if
Hey, Bill, we love you.
if it please the court, I think I can entertain a motion to go ahead with bringing Nick on board, pending some research about our options with his vacation time request.
Whatever. Fine.
And so he will be paid at the rate, prorated share of $95,000 a year for the last 3 months, and then we'll mix his budget into his salary into the new budget. At that time, I'd like to, when we begin to talk about that, I'd like to maybe broach the idea of giving him a probationary period and bumping up if he does well, but we can talk about that at a later date as we're preparing next year's budget.
He's got experience that most people wouldn't have. He's been with the state, which may give us a
He has
reason to
15
justify.
years in with the state.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
So he already has that much, he has more than that in vacation time
Yeah.
with the state.
Yeah.
And then he went to private sector. He actually has a master's degree.
Is that better than you?
I don't, but I got a BS degree.
Does he have a
There's a lot of that.
Does he have a surveyor's
You sure do. You sure do.
Bill,
I love
does
you,
he-
Bill. I love
does-
Mary Ellen, don't worry about that particular part right there.
Does he have a surveyor's license?
He has he's PE, licensed PE here.
Surveying,
No,
okay.
no,
But
and
you
I
have
told him
that,
about
so-
that. He does not want to be a certifier. Because if you have to, I told Sandy that when he hired me, can I survey? Yes, he can probably survey. Do you want him to do it? No. You always want to hire somebody else. That way, if there's any kind of legal issue, being an attorney, it then falls on that individual, not the county. So,
So I've
Judge,
made-
I would make that motion that we go ahead and bring him on in April. And
I'll second.
So you have a motion and a second. This is pending some further research about his vacation time.
Yeah, pending on
Yeah.
the discussion we had about the vacation stuff.
And if it turns out to be a problem, we'll get back with Nick and try to huddle on this a little bit. And see
And let
what
me
we
just
can do.
add, though, that Nick Stallings is a great guy.
Nick Stallings, yes.
I've been fortunate to be around on this court long enough and work with him and see how he was when he was with
He is
Kentucky State.
very
so-
good.
So, yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
He'd be an asset, truly would. Not that you're not, Bill. You are as well.
You get things done, Bill, and I like that.
Thanks for your kind words, Charlie.
Well, sometimes you plow ahead, though, like when you don't have right-of-ways. I think like I remember a case like that.
I know, that's just my subtle personality.
As a compliment, when I first came on this court, I guess it's been over 11 years ago, and didn't really know a whole lot about anything, especially county roads and bridges. But Bill always took the time, because his office was up here, and I stayed in that office all the time, although he was kind of bitter, but he was really a great guy as far as informing me and kind of teaching me a lot about the county, honestly. So I thank you for that, Bill, as I've told you a dozen times. But
And I thank Fiscal Court for the support in this decision right here. I think it's a very good decision for Henderson County, so.
Well, there's so much knowledge you have that you need to pass on, and, I mean, he's going to pick it up, but it's, you can help him a lot, and I think that's good.
Okay, we have a
Thank-
motion and a second. Any other questions of Bill? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Mr. Gold, your payments.
You know, Mary Ellen, this is the point where normally I would have asked you to have handed a whole bunch of money to the judge, but today I really don't have a whole lot to give. So it's kind of anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Normally it's thousands of dollars. Today, Judge, I have two checks for interest, one in the amount of $113.42 and another in the amount of $22.69 for today's total of a whopping $136.11.
I can't recall a county attorney's report that just had interest payments.
I know, and but that brings today's fiscal year total to date to $117,647 even.
I
Make a
move
motion to
accept.
accept, or second his motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll bring up Treasurer Ryder. We have a budget amendment to make to take in some money and expand to line item number 2.
This is the first reading of the second budget amendment for this fiscal year, amending into the current fiscal year's budget unanticipated receipts of the road fund and the state grants fund in the amount of $349,200. The revenue expense, or the revenue breakdown for this is road fund, FEMA receipts, $227,190. Road fund transportation cabinet, $120,000. State grants miscellaneous revenue, which represents Kentucky State Treasurer's spay and neuter grant of $2,100. The corresponding expenditures for this is road fund bridges, $200,000, road fund rock, $147,190, state grants, spay and neuter grant, $2,100. The total amendment again is $349,200.
Any questions?
I move to approve the transfers,
Second.
This is actually a budget amendment.
or budget amendment, I'm sorry.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And next,
I have transfers. The transfers are as presented, and this is redistributing appropriations within the existing budget. I also have a cash transfer in the amount of $18,910. This is to correct an electronic fund transfer from the Tennessee U.S. Marshal from the grants fund to the jail fund, which would have been where it should have been.
they sent the money to the wrong fund, so.
Make a
Second.
make a motion to approve the transfer.
Motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And claims?
Claims. From the general fund to Visa in the amount of $512.71. The majority of this comes from the judge and staff training appropriation line. Penny Rowell Narcotics Task Force, $6,000. This is the partial payment of the fiscal year 21-22 contribution and is to come from the Sheriff's Grant Appropriation Line. Paducah Area Chamber of Commerce, $500. This is for the February 10th, 2022 West Kentucky Thank You Night sponsorship, and is to come from the Fiscal Court Advertising Appropriation Line. To the Kentucky Magistrates and Commissioners Association, $590. This is the registration fee for the 2022 Spring Conference for 2 magistrates, and is to come from the Fiscal Court Conferences Training Appropriation Line. To Magistrate Putman in the amount of $4,679.08. This is for the calendar year 2022 training incentive, and is to come from the Magistrates Training Incentive Appropriation Line. Is to be paid with the March 17, 2022 payroll. To Magistrate Southard in the amount of $4,679.08. This is for the calendar year 2022 training incentive. Is to come from the Magistrates Training Incentive Appropriation Line, and is to be paid with the March 17, 2022 payroll. From the Road Fund to Cummins Sales and Service in the amount of $771.56. This is for generator inspections and services, and is to come from the Road Maintenance and Repair Equipment Appropriation Line. From the Jail Fund to Advanced Document Solutions, $1,173.50. This is for copier leases, and is to come from the Data Processing Equipment Appropriation Line. To U.S. Bank, which is the credit card, $1,548.98. The majority of this is coming from office supplies and equipments, repairs and maintenance appropriation lines.
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve these claims. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Under old business, I have a bit of update. You know, the workshop we had last week to finish out the reviewing the personnel policy. I believe that both Angela and Steve are still working to kind of codify and update and summarize everything we talked about. And hopefully maybe by next meeting we'll be able to move on that.
Yes, the last I heard, Angela was still working on her side of it. And
Okay.
as soon as she's ready, we'll be good to go.
And I think the goal is to try to approve all the amendments we made, not only with the personnel policy, but with the rest of the administrative code, which we handled 2 weeks before that, and do that all at once. So that's the latest schedule there on that change, and I appreciate your hard work on helping do that. Very satisfying. Anybody else have any old business? Would anybody from the audience like to speak for good of the county? Our Property Evaluation Administrator, Andrew Powell.
Thanks, Judge. I just wanted to take just a quick moment to update you about something that's happening in the legislative session that's of vital importance for Henderson County. The Magistrates and Commissioners Association, the County Judges Executives Association, the county attorneys, the sheriffs have all voted to approve. It's House Bill 260. It passed out of A&R House Committee last week. I had the chance to testify at that committee hearing. What it is it's shoring up an issue with how we value big box commercial properties. This is the second year in a row that this bill has been filed. And the reason it's gotten so important is it's going to become pervasive across, it's pervasive across the rest of the country. And starting about 3 years ago, it entered into the Commonwealth. And Mr. Gold and I we had one of these situations and we took it to Frankfurt, and we're a month out of our actual hearing and came to a number that we were satisfied with. But we just wanted to bring that to your attention. It's going to hit the House floor hopefully this week. And I think we have 17 days left in the session, so hopefully we can push it in the Senate. But I know that some of you are going to the Commissioners Association or the Magistrates Association conference and stuff, and I believe we have Representative Dixon's support when it goes to the House floor, and Senator Mills is also very aware of this bill, but any voice you can provide to this. And let me just briefly, because I don't want to extend your meeting, explain what the situation is these commercial appraisal comes down to 3 different methodology: comparing it to other sales, comparing it to what it would cost to build it minus depreciation, and then what its income viability is, how it produces income. That's 3 ways you find valuation of property. What we're having is these big box stores are now trying to say that the comparative sales should be based off dissimilar properties. The way you decide a comparative sales is if you've got a 1,500 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, it should be compared to 1,500 square foot 2-bedroom, 3-bath, or 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Apples to apples. Well, that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing out of peak market, empty for multiple years, and it's the Walmarts of the world that had regular Walmarts in the 80s and then built super centers. And then what happened to all those? Well, I mean, just look at North 41. They're wanting to compare the sales of those empty, unused, out of peak market buildings to compare to thriving peak market retail stores. We've had that. Like I said, we had one appeal here in Henderson County 2 years ago. And I've already receiving word from the same outfit that represented them. So what this does is this bill shores that up. It takes their ability to use dissimilar properties out of the equation. And the reason that's so important is if that tanks our commercial property tax roll, that's got to be made up somewhere else. I'm sure you've heard of what they call House Bill 44, which is the compensating rate. It gives every taxing district the right to bring in the same amount of revenue, to adjust their tax rate whichever direction to bring in the same amount of revenue year over year. Well, if the commercial property tax roll decreases, that's going to cause your compensating rate to come up on everybody else. So this affects your homeowners, your small business owners, and your farmers disproportionately because other people aren't paying their fair share of taxes based off their, by appealing and using an unqualified assessment system. So this is a very important bill to us because we're sending more revenue than we've ever had to every taxing district. The real estate market is bonkers right now. I mean, it's out of control. But as this inflation increases, and now that we've entered a time where oil deprivation might be an issue, we might be going to, with our world stage being such in flux, we see this coming to a screeching halt very quickly. So if our commercial tax base bottoms out through this system, if we can't fix it, this could be a negative impact for every homeowner, every small business owner, every farmer in our community, not because their assessment's going to be wrong, but because we have to raise the tax rate to make up for revenue lost on other assessments. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Your associations have already voted as a whole to support this bill, and we've reached every member of the House, and as soon as it gets assigned to the Senate A&R, we'll reach out to them. But as you enter into groups across the Commonwealth, like I said, I think our legislators are very aware of the situation and in support. But anything you can do to help this, because this is something we have to have foresight on, because if this takes further effect of our community, it's going to take a long time to get it back. So thanks, that's all I have.
I appreciate you bringing it up. I appreciate you. I appreciate your predecessor because you all stood up to this. These people that are bringing this, they solicit the corporations to do this, and they will do it for a percentage of what we can save you. I mean, and then what they'll do is they'll try to overwhelm the taxing boards and people with cases, and it's all about big business trying to make the little people pay. And I support you. I think you're exactly right.
I appreciate that.
I
Thank
want
you.
to just kind of follow up on that. We are very fortunate to have the last our prior PVA and PVA PAL doing that. When this came along, there was a law firm that had solicited nationally, these major corporations and said, we'll take a piece of what we can save you. And the corporation says, yeah, sure, if you can save us, great. But a whole lot of PVAs got rolled over and didn't fight it at all.
Right.
Andrew really stepped up. It's benefit having an attorney as our PVA, because he actually sent them some requests for production of documents, things like that. And they really had to be on their toes, and by that happening, we were actually in a better position than, I think there were 17 other or so around the state.
Yeah, there were
that
18.
same-
The year we went through it, there were 17 appeals. Last year there were 18, all by this same outfit. And Magistrate McCollum's exactly right. It's not necessarily the corporation that's at issue here. It's these law firms and what they call tax representative groups that reach out and say, what do you have to lose? And then they come in and use tactics that are not approved by any form of assessment theory. So.
Well, and essentially, at its very heart, it's a bullying argument.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hey, we're making millions out of this store, sometimes in a month, and you know, don't value it on everything, the economics, the actual value that we're getting out of this store. Value it only on if we pulled up stakes and left it as a Hulk. You know, that's a lot different. And like you say, that's not how commercial property is generally valued when you look at true value of something. And this would be the kind of thing, not just for Henderson, not just in places that have Walmarts or Lowe's or things like that. It's all across Kentucky. You'll see it at you know, whether it's the chain drug stores or things like that. It's kind of a time bomb that would shift a lot of the taxes from from corporations that should be paying that, you know, just like we're all paying it on our homes or whatever, down to the rest of us on ours, on our homes and things like that. And it's something that hopefully this bill can keep that from happening. So thank you, Andrew, for
Sure.
fighting that.
Appreciate your support. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything for good of the county? With that, we'll go around the horn, and I'll start with Magistrate Putman. Oh, by the way,
Happy
birthday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Judge.
We should sing.
And
You're
let me just
catching
say,
up.
it's Mary's Day as well. So as I told her that, I said, you know, Mary, how old are you? Did you tell? 10? It's amazing. Proclamation at 10 years old. Your day, named in Henderson County. I understand your grandmother told me you take after her. But I know the whole family is very proud of you, and you're a very special young day. And there was a lot of information here today, a lot that we need to be refreshed on as well. So it's very informative, the things we talked about the judicial system, House bill, and real estate. Doesn't mean much now, but as you grow older, you'll see you're kind of versed on it at 10. But anyway, just congratulations, and Judge, everything's good in the fourth. Thank you.
Master Moran.
I too would like to congratulate you and your family, and I know you all are proud, and it is exciting. And keep up the good work. I know you will, and I know you'll have good support, so I appreciate that. And as far as I know, all's good in the second, so.
Thank you. Magistrate Southern.
Congratulations again. It's pretty special, and I hear you're going out to eat with Magistrate Barry. So make him pay for a lot of desserts. All's good in District 3.
Then I'll move to Mr. Gold and change the batting order up a bit.
Thank you, Judge. Again, Mary Ellen, congratulations. You know, we're all excited about all the great things you've done to get here, but I also know you're going to do a whole lot of great things in the future, and we all look forward to seeing that. And I know you've got a group of supporters here that has done a great job supporting you and getting you to where you are, and I know they're going to keep doing that. And just keep on doing all the great things that you're doing. You, out of all the people in your school, you're the one that got today. And I know we talked a little earlier about a lot of the things we do here fitting in that category of boring but important. But you know, you've almost made it through it, and the rest of it is your day, and nobody else in the entire county can say that. So congratulations, and happy birthday, Magistrate Putman.
Thank you, Mr.
When you said 11 years on the fiscal court, it didn't. That's Wow, and we are blessed to have his institutional knowledge here. He's really been a great magistrate,
Thank you.
and enjoy working with you. And you know, we'll save saying good things about Bill until he's actually retiring. We don't want it to go to his head for.
We got plenty of time to roast him, plenty of time.
But otherwise, things are going real well in the county attorney's office. I'll be traveling to Frankfurt tomorrow to testify in the House Judiciary about some bills affecting juvenile justice, which hopefully will help the courts address some of the more acute issues going on with juveniles. I have always believed if we can get our response to juvenile justice right, we won't have to worry as much about adult issues. But getting it right it's always a matter of fine-tuning things, and there's a bill up there that we're going to be talking about, trying to do some of those things. And going to be hopefully stopping in and talking to some of our legislators about the other issues that we've talked about today, the judgeship and the big box bill. So things are good. Thank you.
Thank you. Master Barry?
That was a lot of congratulations, wasn't it? I'll do one more. Congratulations. And I'm not going to talk long, but Judge, because we're going to go eat. Yeah, we're going to Sidewalk Cafe. Was that right? Man, so I'm going to be short. Congratulations, family. We're glad to have her. This is a great day for Mary. It's your day. And you may have to take a nap after we eat. I know I may. Tim's going to drive me to Louisville, so I may sleep going up there because we're going to do good at lunch. Happy birthday, Butch. Didn't know it was your birthday. Judge, I think that's it. I think we're good in the first as far as I know. May change tomorrow, but right now we're okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And Master McCullough?
Mary Ellen, I would not want to not congratulate you, but I want to see you be an attorney, be a doctor, be the governor, be the county judge. It's yours. All you got to do is set your goals and go for it. And sometimes we have to put off having something today to have something better tomorrow, and that's one of the keys. So, and you can go to the community college basically for free here in Henderson. If you go to school and attend school and make good grades, and then the keys money, there's money to do it. So I hope that you'll be successful. Okay. I heard something that bothered me. A person was giving one of our magistrates a very hard time, very critical, because they would not replace a pipe that's like 400 feet into their property. A prior magistrate put it in 30 years ago, and they're upset because they didn't. I really am against that kind of stuff, and this court's been really good about not doing that kind of stuff and using taxpayers' dollars to help somebody individually. But I just think it's worth bringing up that there's people out there that are working against some of you guys for the wrong reasons. I mean, we haven't had this little fiefdom and territorialness that's been there in the past. You know, I take care of my people, I don't worry about the people in the other districts. And that's one of the reasons I was for the Commissioner form of Government, where you have to think about the whole county, not just your little district. But I appreciate you all. I appreciate all the magistrates and the way we handle things. But people are trying to rouse things like that up against us, which is, in my opinion, very, very wrong. And all's good in the fifth, all my roads and ditches are.
To follow that up, I've heard comments about the fact that fiscal court has too much money in reserve. I think that is born of a misunderstanding about the potential pitfalls that are out there for county governments. I'll give you a good example. At our last judges' meetings, we had panel discussions from judges who were in the path of the tornadoes and had communities in their counties destroyed by the tornadoes. And Kevin Neal in Marshall County was describing, and they weren't even one of the major, most impacted counties, but they had a lot of damage. Everybody talks about FEMA taking care of the expense, but as we all know, FEMA is a reimbursement program, and sometimes it takes years to get FEMA funds back. In the meantime, you have to come up with the money to do the initial excavation and renovations and clearing, and everything else that goes on up front. And it often falls on the county to come up with that money up front. And in their case, the bill was $15 million that they had to come up with first before they could contemplate FEMA reimbursement. They didn't have $15 million in the bank. So they had to go get a line of credit at a bank to assure that they could provide the necessary services after the tornado hit, and hope that they could afford the interest payments until they began to get FEMA reimbursements. $15 million. They had $2 million in the bank. It was not an easy issue. And again, they were one of the least impacted counties that did have tornado damage. If that had happened in Henderson County, we could write a check. If it was $15 million, we could write a check because of the work we've done, minding our money, and making sure that we have enough to cover both disasters, economic development opportunities, emergencies of any type, unfunded mandates from Frankfurt. So when I hear criticism of how well we've managed our county's budget and put the county in a position of power to handle the worst occasions, the worst possibilities, and protect our citizens while we've done it, I just kind of shake my head a bit. But I think we all know what we've done. We all know why we've done it. And we'll continue to do the very best we can to not only put our county in a good financial position, still provide the services that people expect of us, and do everything we can to avoid raising taxes to handle any of the circumstances I just mentioned. And I will talk to anybody who wants to talk to me about whether the county has enough money in reserve for all the reasons that we've talked about. So bring them to me if you hear that. I'm more than willing to have a conversation with them, and I hope you do too when you're out in the community.
I do, and I couldn't agree with you more. And unfortunately, having been county attorney and from '86, the next 8 years, the county was broke, and we were putting 3 miles of blacktop down. And you all know that that's nothing. When you have 400 miles, it's nothing. Roads were terrible, infighting because everybody was my people, my people, my people. It's like a house. Bad marriage and there's no money. I mean, it just creates a very bad situation. You work from strength if you've got the money. We wouldn't have Pratt. We couldn't have.
Exactly right.
Well, and I've talked about this before. You know, we had an opportunity to have a trail all the way to Paducah from here, given to us free and 95% grant money, and we didn't have the money to take advantage of it because they didn't have it. And so working from a position of strength like we've got, people are going to criticize it, but it is absolutely it's the way we ought to live in our home life, and we ought to do it in the government too. And it's not like my fraternity used to be, we have money, let's go have a party. And that's not the way we should operate. And I appreciate what we've done, appreciate what you've done, Brad. It is being able to bring in Pratt Industries, we couldn't have done that. We could not have done that before if we had not managed our money, and it's going to pay off.
Great example. I wish you hadn't used the analogy of spending money on a party, because I'm about to ask you to spend some money on a party. And let me explain myself. Many of you are familiar, I think all of you are familiar with the Henderson Leadership Initiative. And the class that just graduated, a very unusual class because COVID interrupted it in the middle of its normal year. And it was able to get through all that with flying colors, and we were very proud of them. I serve on the board. I'm an HLI fellow. Mr. Gold's an HLI fellow. It's a very important program. Andrew, have you been through the program yet? You're an HLI fellow. It's really made a difference in my life. And I helped mentor a group made up mostly of African-American professionals, T.J. Miller, Miyoshi Holloway, Courtney Ferguson, along with Ryan Nunn, who's pastor at One Life Church. And their project for the year was the creation of a Juneteenth celebration in our community. It is now a federal holiday, and we had not had a formal Juneteenth kind of celebration. It was very important to them that they create one. And they have now formed a small organizing committee with head of our Human Rights Commission, as well as Dr. Michelle Chappelle, Charles Johnson's who I was trying to think of, to bring this to fruition. And in mentoring them and talking about what they might need, because none of them have done something of this type before. It's going to be in Central Park on June 19th. And they mentioned they might need a little seed money this first time to figure out how this goes. Again, they're kind of groping in the dark a little bit about what they're going to need, but eventually they'll come to it. I asked the mayor if he would consider splitting with us $5,000 to help seed them this first year until they get on their feet. And so that would mean $2,500 from the county, $2,500 from the city. They are searching or going to propose to a couple organizations to kind of be their umbrella group and handle the checkbook and help them organize financially. But I was wondering if you would be amenable to helping them this one time with $2,500, and I would move money out of my line items to cover, if that would be acceptable, so it wouldn't be taking away from anything that's already budgeted. Does anybody have any negative response to that or any pushback?
I have a little bit, and I apologize. I know y'all think I'm a nut. I'll pay, we can divide it between the first. I'd rather pay my personal money than pay out of this money, even though we got plenty of money. But
And a reminder, for instance, we give $5,000 to the Handy Fest. It's a good community, event
Right.
that brings dollars in. And
It
we
does.
hope this to be the same,
I don't know. That's my first inclination is I'd rather give it out of my own money than.
Well, I'm sure they'll take your check.
I'm sure they would.
And we'll have more information about that. But I thought as both as an encouragement to this group of younger professionals and as the potential for being something that really becomes a positive in our community and hopefully ongoing, we might help in this small way. It's not an ongoing commitment. It's a one-time commitment. I'll let you ponder that. I'm not asking right now. I'm eager to see, if the city feels the same way. But if you don't mind, I'll bring it back to you. Just want to broach this.
And I apologize. I'm just frugal. I mean, when it's
I think we've got
I'm
this.
better with my money. I'll spend my money, but I won't spend somebody else's. I'm sorry.
And I will say, and I appreciate that very much. When we look for things to support out of our LGEA budget, the various community services, we know impact a pretty fair amount of folks in the community. I think we've done a good job of trying to only spend money when we know it will help people, and not just a few, but quite a number. And I think in the end, these sorts of occasions both send a good message and help develop a bit of community pride, and also, in the case of Juneteenth, will be very educational. People will learn about Black history and culture and why Juneteenth is now a federal holiday. So just want to keep that out there. I may come back again. I'll report back. I'm really proud of the expansion of some of the summertime festivals and things. They, as Steve can attest, having hosted a panel on this at recent CAECO conference, the economic impact that they have, bringing people into our community that might not otherwise come down. Hopefully Juneteenth, as they envision it, gets pulled off, we'll do the same thing. So just throwing it out there. Again, I'll report back. I don't have anything else. It's been a good meeting. Thanks for all your help. Congratulations to Mary Ellen. You're a star today. I'm sure you're looking forward to lunch, and I'll let you get to it, Mr. Berry. And so with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion is second. All those in favor can leave.